Hey guys, I am breaking down this knife today. So if you are not aware or can't read the title, this is the SPK Lamia. So this one's in Vanax. It's got the Nature Grip. This is a Gen 4, which I guess is a fancy way of saying it's got these kind of contoured handle scales. So if you look down like this, you can see the arc to the handle scales. Runs on bearings and everything. So I've used this for a while. I carry a Gen 2 daily. That's probably my most carried knife. Almost every day I've got that on me. But this one I want to break down, I want to clean, and I figure I'll walk you guys through the process, show you the disassembly, give you my thoughts in general. So I guess an overview. This is probably my favorite knife to carry. I think Alex does a great job on these as far as ergonomics and everything. I mean, you can see you've got a really nice contour here that follows all the way down into the blade. So super comfortable. Just kind of melts into the hand pretty nicely. Really like that. And just kind of everything about this I think is great. I really don't like knives with independent sharpening choils. So it's okay on some knives where it doubles as a grip, but something that's got kind of a hook down here that when I'm cutting stuff, I tend to use this area of the knife the most. Obviously, this has a lot of wear because I've broken down a lot of cardboard boxes with it, and I'm typically not stabbing into cardboard boxes to use this part. But down here on the edge is kind of my most used section, and I always tend to slip off when you've got a sharpening choil there, and it kind of snags up. I never have that issue with this. I never really have any hot spots on this. I think really the only thing that I dislike here is you've got kind of, it's not sharp, but you've got a little bit of a sharp corner just where the edge isn't broken around right here. And when you're really squeezing down here and you're kind of torquing back and forth, I tend to get a hot spot right where that sits on my finger. Maybe that's a me problem, just the way I'm holding the knife, because if I choke up a little bit higher toward the blade, you really don't get that at all. But I don't know, I tend to hold a little bit further down, which causes that issue. So maybe you guys don't have that, maybe you do, but that's kind of one of my maybe my only complaint about this. As far as the action goes, I mean, I didn't really like the washer action on mine, but I never really gave it a chance to break in on the Gen 2. I sent it off for a bearing swap. I had the bearing pockets mailed into it and called it a day. I just tend to like the bearing action a little bit better. But, I mean, flies open really nice. I find reverse flick is really good and front flick is really good. I've seen some people add some jimping over here by the logo and front flip it somehow. I don't know. I'm not much for front flippers. I tend to drop the knife more than I tend to actually open the knife. I guess a little bit about the finishing on this one, right? So we have the Nature Grip, which is what all these little milled slots are. So little tiny ball end mill that comes down in and cuts the grooves like this. So I really like it. This is my first Nature Grip out of the bunch of Lumias that I've had. I think this is pretty great texture. Noticeably more grip. When I went back to carrying the Gen 2 after carrying this for a while, it's like, wow, this is really smooth, really slippery. So this doesn't look like it would do a whole lot, but it does actually help pretty significantly with the grip on the knife. So this one, I believe, is just an aluminum oxide blast on the blade itself. This is what it looks like. Maybe tumbled afterwards, probably tumbled afterwards. I should probably clean it up so that I can give an accurate idea what the finish is, but the scales themselves are kind of an electro anodized. So this is I've got the chemical on the shelf over here. Let me see if I can read it. Manganese sulfate monohydrate. I think I'm reading that correctly. So it's basically a really high voltage anodized, in that manganese monohydrate will coat this knife. So this isn't like quite an anodization like you'd see on normal titanium, where it's a little thin film over the top, or I guess a little oxide layer. There might be some kind of oxide that's formed because of this, but the way I understand it is this is some sort of like deposition coating, and this will wear down over time. So you can see probably some of the higher wear spots that I've got here where it's rubbing against my pocket. That's starting to wear down a little bit, and then some of the other spots. So I mean, I think it's cool. I think the fact that it kind of weathers in is pretty interesting. And I've done this on a couple parts myself. Nothing as big as scales or anything, but a couple of my buttons I've done this type of anodization with, and it varies in between like a purple and a green. I guess I've cranked the voltage up pretty high doing coatings like this, just experimenting. I think I've gone between like 80 and 110 volts or something like that. So I guess Alex is somewhere around 90 or 100 if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, I think it's a cool coating. I mean, don't expect it to be like DLC. Don't expect it to be like Cerakote. It's something that's gonna wear down a lot faster than that over time because it seems to be some sort of deposition coating that's just onto the scales. But overall, I mean, I think it's really cool looking. I think it's really nice, and you've got the benefit of I think it's like a 60 grit blast that he's doing before he does that. So the 60 grit is pretty coarse, gives you a little bit of extra grip. So yeah, I mean, pretty cool. So I guess we can break it open. I mean, overall, my thoughts on the knife, I've kind of gone through already. I think it's an awesome knife. Super happy with the ergonomics. The lockup's great. It's super easy to open and close. Doesn't look like it from, I guess, a first glance, but you can see there's kind of an over travel stop that doubles as the lock bar insert over here. So we'll see when we disassemble. So you can't overextend this, right? It goes to a certain point, so you have plenty of room to close the knife when it's in that position. But doubling as an over travel stop is cool. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the external lock bar relief, but I mean, I know it's 50-50, right? Some people do it on the inside, some people do it on the outside. I've heard there's benefits to one way or the other way. Just personally, this always tends to tear up my pockets pretty good. You get these edges they're not like sharp or anything, but edges that are going to rub on your pants over time as you're yanking this thing in and out of your pockets. So can cause some wear over time. Now let me find my tools. I want to say this is all T10 for everything. Let me see. T10 and T10. Perfect. Let me grab my screwdriver. Alrighty. So, pretty easy to take apart, obviously. I mean, you can see there's a pivot screw, there's a backspacer screw, and that is all that's holding on the top scale. And then on the inside, you've got the same thing, right? Pivot screw, backspacer, screw, and then the only additional screw that you've got on the other side is the one that's holding in the clip. So that is a screw from the inside, which is, it's nice. You don't have the external screws visible on the outside, so it looks pretty sleek. And I've seen a few complaints about that because I guess the clips are hard to make. So the guys that are making them out of Timascus or making the aftermarket clips tend to dislike them because I guess they're pretty tough to make, and it's definitely kind of a weird shape. But I don't know. I don't know if you need to design things specifically with the aftermarket in mind necessarily. So looking at the inside here, you can see he's got his SPK logo right there. You got the American flag on the other side. Let me see. So no steel washer or anything. At least not that I'm seeing or picking up on, but he's masking off these surfaces, it looks like, when he does the anodization. So I think that's good. Not going to have any of this like 60 grit build up that's going to kind of gunk up your system in there, which is great. Here's the blade. So fairly simple, right? You got your detent hole. On my Gen 2, I think this is a blind hole, so it's just drilled, halfway or 3/4 of the way through the blade itself. Now it's all the way through, so not really significant from a cleaning perspective, but just something from a design that's changed a little bit. And then maybe not obvious because this is filthy, but there is a detent ramp milled in here. So there we go. Yeah, you can see you've got the little half moon in there. So just to help it kind of ramp up. I've been talking to people about whether or not that's like a necessary feature, the detent ramps. I tend to like them a little bit better, but again, I mean, it's probably not a really critical feature. It probably doesn't really move the needle on anything. You got a stop pin down here, so I think standard, just 1/8 inch, I want to say. Let's see, got the calipers. And we'll clean up my jaws because these are filthy. Good. Alrighty, yeah, so just 1/8 inch pin here. And then if I'm remembering right, the blade stock on these is about 100 thou, plus or minus, whatever, a half a thou or something. 104, let me see. I'm probably measuring a dirty spot. No, a little thick. So 102.5, 102 maybe. Maybe it depends on where. No, about 102. So I don't know. Maybe that's what he's shooting for is the 102. I have absolutely no idea what the manufacturer spec is on that. But overall, I mean, it's super thin, super slicey geometry. I mean, he's got a pretty high bevel on these. You know, like the hand ground ones are a little bit higher, but really, like angle-wise, what do you think the difference is on bringing that up the other 1/4 inch? I think it's probably pretty insignificant as far as the effect that has on performance. So get the other bearing out here, and we are good here. Feels like super lube in the pockets. I remember him saying that that's what he uses at one point or another. So here you can see what I was talking about as far as the lock bar insert and the over travel stop. Really like the idea of a lock bar insert. I know there's kind of two ways that you can go about it. You can have like Oz with the Roosevelt. They stake in their bearings, so you've got something to cause lockup there, or like Chris Reeve, obviously, same thing. So this has the hardened steel. I don't know if he's doing these out of AEBL still, but I know a while ago originally, I believe they were AEBL, all the way from the good old days when he started production on these. So I haven't had any lockup issues. I feel like this is pretty reliable. One of the things I like about this one, I think it's pretty cool that it has a couple functions, right? So it obviously over travel stop is one of the good ones. And then also if you're squeezing on the lock bar, you don't have a whole ton of room. If I can get it to focus, and you don't have a whole ton of room that you can push this back, right? So if you didn't have this kind of wall here or something, you'd be able to, you can imagine, like kind of bottom out that lock bar. I don't know if that matters, but it is kind of a nice feature that it prevents you from squeezing the lock bar in 2 directions. So you can't overbend it, you can't over squeeze it this way. It's obviously locked up against the blade in this direction. So I think overall just pretty solid. Previous revisions, I know instead of having this big slot down here, had just a hole drilled in the bottom. So obviously that's something else that's changed. Obviously nothing super significant there. I did do an analysis, not super in depth, but just to see what the stress difference was there. And in the analysis, it came out that it's basically no real difference as far as the stress goes. I mean, there's a couple percentage points that it goes up with this new style, but just because it's higher stress doesn't necessarily mean something's wrong with it, right? Like it's still technically, without getting super engineering nerd on this, right? Everything over time, when you bend it over and over again, if you bend it really hard, it'll snap, right? So like if I take this clip, I can probably bend it like that much, 10,000 times, 100,000 times. And basically you have, it's called an SN curve. So it's the allowable amount of stress that your fatigue life can take in a certain metal over the number of cycles, right? So if we're holding my pocket clip and we take it and we bend it down 1/8 of an inch and that imparts however much stress, we'll call it 50,000 PSI of stress in this little area right there, because that's the highest stress zone is at this juncture between the fixed point and the thin wall. So that point right there is going to have the most stress when you're opening and closing this clip. So call it a 50,000 PSI stress. This is made out of titanium. I don't know what the SN curve looks like from memory for titanium, but say that we start at like 1 cycle, I can handle 160,000 PSI, and then I go to 1,000 cycles and I'm at 140,000. And then we go to 100,000 cycles and I'm down to 80,000. Then we go to 1,000,000 cycles and I'm down to whatever, 60,000. So you eventually your part can handle less and less and less stress and have the life for that number of cycles. So anyway, that's a long way to say I ran the analysis on this, and eventually at 10 to the 8th cycles, you kind of run into, we call it infinite life. So this stress right here is still good. I think if not for infinite life, then like 10 to the 7 cycles, and good luck flipping your knife for 10 to the 7 cycles. I mean, if you get there, then I'm proud of you and high five and good job, because you've really accomplished something there. So that's how you take the clip out. I guess from the inside, you got that screw. So you can see here, right? It's got some pretty nice ball and mill work on the inside here. And something that I like to see is a lot of places will come in with a square, or not square, but just a normal end mill that's got kind of a right angle. And they'll cut this, and what that'll do is it'll create a right angle pocket right here. And what happens is you have a huge amount of stress there, and eventually, after flexing and flexing and flexing, because you have a right angle, you have a stress riser in that area, and you will fail your clips significantly earlier if you have something like that. Now this, you're doing with a ball mill, you've got a nice radius there, it's going to be a lot lower stress, so you're going to have fewer failures, whether that's intentional or not. I mean, I'm sure you thought about it, and it's good to see that, because I've definitely seen some milled clips that don't have that, and that can be, that can be an issue. We'll walk through the back spacer real quick. So just got to remove the screw from the other side. Got that. And then back spacer stays in place, but we have the this pin that comes through. So again, 1/8 inch pin. I want to say it's an identical pin to the stop pin. I'm not going to switch them, but yeah, looks to be exactly the same. So that's held in place there. I mean, it's a good way to do things. I mean, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I think that's solid. Anywhere you can use pins instead of using screws, it's a good idea, especially if you can hold good tolerances like this. Like I don't feel any directional wobble in this pin, and you can see obviously it's not falling out at all. So it's done pretty well, milled good tolerances. I don't know if he's doing like interpolating for the hole or what the milling process is there, but solid, right? So that is kind of the full breakdown, other than the lock bar insert, which I don't know. I'm not going to take out the lock bar insert. I tried on my previous knife, or my previous Lamia, or I guess not previous, other, it's upstairs. Basically, you remove the screw. With mine, when this detent ball was pressed in, deforms this wall a little bit. So you can see fairly thin wall. I mean, obviously enough to hold the detent ball in place. So not a concern from that aspect, but it does deform the wall enough that, if he's holding really tight tolerances on these parts, sub 1 thou or whatever, and you get a thou deformation when you press in this bearing, then when it pushed over, it kind of pinched the lock bar insert, which obviously not a problem. That's completely okay. And if I ever need to warranty this in the first place, I'm sure he'll be able to get it out. And if I tried, I'd be able to get it out. But I wasn't really trying to break anything when I was disassembling the other one. So just leaving it alone. Another thing I think that's worth mentioning is this shape of this pocket for the pocket clip. I noticed my pocket clip doesn't really wobble side to side at all. And he must be doing a pretty good job tolerance-wise and holding everything in place, because having no wobble on a pocket clip, especially one that's held in only by 1 screw and no pins and no nothing else, I mean, that's pretty solid. It's good work. And I mean, I've seen Alex's videos, and obviously I haven't measured any of his profile parts as far as like how close he's holding there, because I'm not going to throw one of these on a CMM or an optical machine to figure out exactly what kind of tolerance band he's holding. But I mean, he's definitely doing a solid job, I would say. And like I said, there we go. Pocket clip is moving now because I didn't have it all the way in the pocket the first time. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna say make me a liar, right? I'll show you guys. Oh, look, it doesn't move at all, and now it wobbles side to side. So anyway, I guess that's a good way to get it installed, is tighten it down fairly good, and then give it a wobble, and if it moves, then hopefully it goes into the right place. So anyway, I got that tightened now. I really like that it's T10 hardware, so that the hardware is all from JK Designs. I want to say that's the name. Might just be JK Design, not with the extra S on the end that I added there. But I like the hardware. The pivot screws are a little less interesting than like the tie connector ones. So I think that's really my only complaint, but they are the same diameter. So if you're so inclined, you can always buy hardware from tie connector, and you can throw that in your pivot, or there's, at least one, probably more guys that are making custom pivots as well. So you can also reach out to those guys that are making custom pivots. And I've seen ones that are like abalone or mother of pearl or all this interesting stuff. So if you're so inclined, then I guess that's something that you can do. So I like to use graphene oil on my stuff. I want to say, I don't know. I haven't asked Alex what he's using now, but I think he's using Super Lube for all his bearings and everything still. I know he was the last time I was paying attention to the minutia of what he was doing on his production line. So Super Lube is good for me. With bearings, I tend to like the thin graphene oil, but again, it's probably a pretty minor difference, if not completely unimportant. So really doesn't matter. And again, with bearings, I don't know if it's necessary at all to use any sort of lubrication. I find it's helpful, but some people think that you can run them dry. Some people think that you need to add some sort of oil to them. I tend to like them better with oil, but that's just my opinion. Maybe some other people have some justifications for running them dry and why that might be better. So just personal experience for me. So we're gonna take the pivot, stick the pivot back in. I think this isn't really a complaint with the knife. It's more a complaint just in general about this kind of hardware. I don't love having the T10 on one side and the T10 on the other side. I would prefer if one of these was D-shaped, or if the pivot was D-shaped and you're just tightening it down. That's really, really, really getting into like the personal preference thing, but I prefer taking apart the knives with the, I put this in the wrong spot? Oh yeah. There we go. So that's, I guess, sort of not really confusing. I guess if you're stupid like me, then it's confusing. But you got these 3 holes. And what he's doing is he's making these all on a pallet in his machine. So he's got screws that come in from the bottom and hold this so that way he can mill from the other side. So if you're stupid like me and you don't know what hole does what, like this hole he's using for work holding. So he's putting a screw into his pallet, or I guess from the back side of his pallet, and that's holding this in place. So don't try and put your pin into there. It's not going to fit. And I guess be warned. Don't be stupid like me. So we'll keep that one open for now. We'll open up the KPL. So this is KPL, but from graphene oil. So it's just a little bit thicker. I like to use the graphene oil stuff. I find that it works really good. All made in America. I think it's really good quality. I like it. I think that it's a good company, and I think they do good work with their products. So I guess the only other thing I want to do here is put a little dab of the thin oil on the detent track and just trace that along. So that is good. We'll leave that over here. And then I'm going to put a dab on the inside of the pivot. Alrighty. So we got that. Nice. Okay. So we're good here. Now we'll put the thin in the bearing track on this side. That's good. Drop this guy on. Give her a little spin. And I didn't wipe that one off. Dummy. Really on a roll today. So yeah, overall, I think this is a great knife. It's my favorite that I carry on a regular basis. There's some other knives that I'll carry because I think they're cool, or I think they're fun, or I want to try them out, or there's all kinds of hype about them, so I want to see what they're about. But as far as like a dead reliable daily carry, honestly, for me, this is a tough one to beat, and I kind of just continue circling back to it. I think it's a fantastic knife. I think the ergos are great. Obviously, the edge retention and everything is great. I think one of Alex's biggest selling points is he kind of kicks ass on a heat treat standpoint. So some of the earlier knives, I know he was heat treating himself. Now he's using a outsourced heat treater, but it's not like Peters or anything. He's using a company that does aerospace heat treating parts and like legit furnaces and everything, and they're not jamming his parts in with a bunch of other random shit. So it's not like they're running all the stainlesses at exactly the same furnace cycles and everything. You know, he's getting his own furnace runs and they're doing his heat treating cycle. So it's exactly what he would do in his own shop, just done by someone with $1 trillion furnace instead. So like that's what I understand is going on with that. Maybe it's a little bit different with like he just released some of the oh man, is it Devin Thomas or is it Chad Nichols or one of the Damascus brands? Just released a couple of those. Now like those maybe he heat treated himself because he only did whatever 8, 10, 12, 15, however many of them. So maybe those he's doing himself still. As far as I know, he's still got the kiln and he's still got all the equipment to do the heat treating. He's just sending it out. Because, I mean, when you're doing hundreds of these at once, it's like you're really going to do that yourself. And they're still doing the cryo for it and everything. So there's no detriment, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. But I mean, the edge retention on all these is kick-ass. I mean, they're easy to sharpen, in my opinion, because you got a good amount of room here. As like, I won't call it a sharpening choil, but just a sharpen ability. You've got a good amount of room before you get even up to this, what is this called? Ricasso? Is that right? Or is that the thing up here? I don't know. Plunge. There you go. Before you get to the plunge. So, I mean, that is a fair amount of sharpening before you get all the way up here. And then even then, if you have to, you can add a sharpening choil afterwards. If I ever, or when I ever get up to that point, probably will not add a sharpening choil. I'll deal with a little smile down in the bottom. Just because I don't like the sharpening choils. Not my thing. But maybe you guys like it. So that is disassembly and reassembly of the SPK Lamia. And you can see action now. Not that it was bad before, but action now is really solid. I wouldn't expect this to drop shut like a Koenig or like an XM18, like a hinderer on bearings or anything. This is on bearings, right? But you got to keep in mind this blade is 102 thousandths thick and it's ground super thin. I mean, I always freaks me out doing these behind the edge measurements, but let me see. This I have not sharpened. And I'm getting about 10 thou. I don't know. It says 8.5 now because it bumped a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like I'm getting pretty high up there too. If you can see. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting fairly high up on this guy. Maybe 5 thou behind the edge, something like that. So, I mean, they're ground super thin. It's not a heavy blade in the first place. Pretty light blade stock. But it's one of these ones where, like, you give it a half-ass shake and it completely drops into place. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great knife. I think if you're able to and you really feel like dropping the money on one, I'm sure there's other people that are competitive with this, but this is my favorite that I've personally tried. And like I said, hotspot wise, my only real complaint is right here. So I know some places, Chris Reeve in particular, I know on their frame locks they run a chamfer bit or a chamfer mill down this section. So they've got it running, as far as I know, on both sides, right? So they got it on the lock bar side and they have it on the main side. So that breaks that edge a little bit, makes it a little more comfortable. That's really my only complaint. And I've cut up boxes and I've cut stuff up and paper and this thing and that thing. I think the longest I've gone for is basically 45 or 50 minutes nonstop. And that was really the only hotspot, if I'm remembering correctly, that I ended up getting. I might have gotten something down on the bottom from the pocket clip, not that it's sharp, but it's like you got something rubbing up against your hand. I don't know many pocket clips that wouldn't cause me any issues at all. So that's my only, like, from a design perspective. I wish this edge was broken. And that's it. Manufacturing wise, I did like a lot better when he deep engraved the SPK and then the blade steel. I don't love laser engraving in general personally, but that's a personal preference thing, right? It does exactly what he wants it to. It's got the SPK on there, which he's still, right? Is this milled? Yeah, this is milled. So this kind of milling used to actually be what he would put on this side of the blade too. So it was the same thing. So you're still kind of getting that deep engrave over here. I wish that it was on the blade like that, just because I think it's a little bit cooler, the physical engraving. But you know, that's my only complaint as far as like the CQI for the quality improvements. I get that there's a huge cycle time on this, and that's the reason, right? Think about how long it takes for you to mill that out of steel with the engraving bit. Different with titanium, but doing it out of steel, you're going to burn through bits faster, and that's going to cost more money, and it takes more time. He can load these up in the laser and just zap it right on and be ready to go. So that's, I mean, I understand the reason why. Doesn't mean I like it, but I understand the reason why. So wish he'd bring back the deep engraving. Maybe I can talk him into it one day. We'll see. But otherwise, I mean, really, really, really probably my favorite knife, and definitely the one I carried the most last year, and definitely what I've carried the most so far this year. In close running with that is the TRM Bulldog. I've been carrying that mostly because I am forcing myself to try and like it, but I don't know. We'll see if I ever get there. That's another video, so thanks for watching. If you stuck around this long, please let me know if you got any questions, if I messed anything up, if you've got any comments of yourself about things that you like or dislike about these, please let me know, and we'll see you next time.